My husband and I have been married for 5 years now, and I always thought he was the most generous man in the world. He'd surprise me with flowers, buy me little gifts, and always made sure I felt loved and cherished. But then I met my friend Sarah's husband, Mark. That's when I realized that generosity comes in many forms, and my understanding of it was about to change completely. Sarah and I have been friends since college. We always share everything from our dreams to our dating stories. When she told me she was getting married to Mark, I was thrilled for her. I met him a few times before the wedding, and he seemed like a great guy, quiet, polite, and clearly head over heels for Sarah. After they got married, we didn't see each other as often, but we'd catch up over coffee whenever we could. It was during one of these chats that I started to notice a pattern. I was telling Sarah about a beautiful necklace my husband had bought me for our anniversary. She smiled and said, "That's so sweet of him." Mark did something wonderful for our anniversary too. I leaned in, expecting to hear about a fancy dinner or a weekend getaway. Instead, she told me that Mark had used his annual bonus to pay off her student loans completely. She said, "He told me he wanted me to start our future without any debt hanging over my head." It was the most romantic thing anyone has ever done for me. I was stunned. A necklace felt so small in comparison. Another time, I was complaining about how busy my husband was with work, leaving me to handle most of the household chores. "I wish he'd help out more," I sighed. Sarah listened patiently and then shared, "Mark and I have a system. He knows I get overwhelmed with housework after a long day at the office, so he takes care of dinner and cleaning on weekdays. He says my peace of mind is more important than a perfectly clean house." I looked at her and I could see the genuine happiness and lack of stress on her face. Mark wasn't just helping. He was actively creating a partnership where the burdens were shared equally. He was generous with his time and his effort, not just his money. The more I heard about Mark, the more I started to see the difference. My husband's generosity was often about grand gestures, the expensive gifts, the fancy dates. They were wonderful, don't get me wrong, and they made for great Instagram posts. But Mark's generosity was quieter, more profound. It was woven into the fabric of their daily life. I remember one evening Sarah called me, sounding a little down. Her mother had been sick and she was worried. The next day she called again, her voice bright and cheerful. "You won't believe what Mark did," she said. "He booked a flight for me to go see my mom this weekend. He already arranged for time off from his own job to take care of the kids and told me not to worry about a thing. He just said, 'Your family needs you, and I've got this.'" Hearing that, my heart ached a little. Not out of jealousy, but out of a newfound understanding. Mark was generous with his support, his empathy, and his selflessness. This realization made me look at my own marriage differently. I loved my husband deeply, but I saw that our dynamic was different. His generosity was often performative, designed to impress or to be seen. It was about the what he could buy. Mark's generosity was about the why he was doing it. He did things to make Sarah's life easier, happier, and more secure. His actions weren't about showing off. They were about showing up. I started to notice the small things. When Sarah mentioned she wanted to start a small online business, Mark spent weeks learning about e-commerce to help her build a website. He didn't just say, "That's a great idea." He invested his own time and energy to help her achieve her dream. He was generous with his skills and his encouragement. He was her biggest cheerleader, her partner in the truest sense of the word. One day, I decided to talk to my husband about it. It wasn't an easy conversation. I didn't want to sound ungrateful or compare him to Mark. I started by telling him how much I appreciated everything he did for me. Then, gently, I explained what I had learned about different kinds of generosity. I talked about how much it would mean to me if he could share more of the daily load, if he could be more present, not just with gifts, but with his time and attention. He was quiet for a long time. I was worried I had hurt his feelings. But then he looked at me and said, "I never saw it that way. I always thought buying you nice things was how I showed you I loved you. That's how my dad showed my mom he cared." It was a moment of breakthrough for us. We talked for hours that night, more openly and honestly than we had in years. He admitted that he often felt pressure to make grand gestures and that he was exhausted from it. From that day on, things started to change. It wasn't overnight, but slowly I saw a shift. He started cooking dinner with me a few nights a week. He would ask about my day and actually listen, putting his phone away. He started to understand that my well-being was a shared responsibility. The expensive gifts became less frequent, but they were replaced by something far more valuable: his partnership. One evening, I came home from a particularly stressful day at work, ready to collapse. I walked in to find the house clean, dinner on the table, and my husband smiling. He pulled me into a hug and said, "I thought you could use a break. Just relax tonight." In that moment, holding him, I felt a wave of love and gratitude that no diamond necklace could ever inspire. He was learning to be generous in the way that mattered most. My friend's husband, Mark, unknowingly taught me a vital lesson about love and partnership. Generosity isn't just about what you give, it's about how you give. It's about empathy, support, and sharing the journey of life together. It's in the quiet moments, the shared chores, and the unwavering support for each other's dreams. My husband is still a generous man, but now his generosity has a depth it never had before. And our marriage is stronger and happier for it. It turns out the best gifts aren't things at all. They're the small, everyday acts of love that say, "I'm here with you, and we're in this together." Thank you so much for watching and listening to my story. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about life, love, and learning. See you next time.